What up, Salvador Briggman here, and welcome back to this YouTube channel where we talk about crowdfunding. We pull back the curtain and share with you what's happening behind the scenes of major crowdfunding campaigns and really demystify the process for you so you can go out there, you can absolutely crush it with your campaign. And specifically in today's video, we're getting into how to make more money on Indiegogo, how to get more funding to your Indiegogo campaign, and how to get more backers for whatever is the campaign that you are gearing up to launch, that you're launching in a couple of months, or that you're already live with and you're wondering, and it's maybe even struggling a tiny bit, like how do I get more backers, donations, funding, and money flowing into this Indiegogo campaign? So that's what we are covering today, and I'm excited to get down to it. And again, welcome back to this channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I've been in the crowdfunding game since 2012. I launched my blog, crowdcrux.com. We also got an incredible podcast out there called the Crowdfunding Demystified Podcast, where every single week I'm covering success stories and interviews and sharing with you what happens behind the scenes of these campaigns on websites like Indiegogo, Kickstarter, WeFunder, other equity crowdfunding platforms, etc. So to me, crowdfunding is part art, part science. And by the end of this video, you're gonna really get some nuggets of gold, which you can take away and you can apply to your campaign. Now, I'm a nerd, right? I'm a crowdfunding nerd. Indiegogo actually got started before Kickstarter. You might not know that in terms of the crowdfunding annals of history, but they actually did. And they've been growing a ton over the years, which is very exciting to see. But it's really all been based around what I call, one major tenet of crowdfunding. And if you wanna get more money, more backers, or more funding when it comes to your Indiegogo campaign, you gotta be aware of what I'm about to mention. So if you got a piece of paper, go and write this down. And that is the GoGo factor algorithm. So if you're not familiar, again, the GoGo factor algorithm. What is this? Indiegogo's GoGo factor algorithm, in my opinion, is kind of at the crux or at the engine of their entire website, because they have a platform, they have a marketplace. So if you're launching into a marketplace, the question is, how do you trend well within that marketplace? How do you get strangers to notice your campaign so you can rack up those donations, so you can rack up those backers, those pledges, those orders when it comes to your project? And the name of that game is you gotta master the GoGo factor algorithm. So this is really a combination of a couple of different factors, but the first one that we should touch on is this idea of utilizing social media to market, promote, and get funding for your Indiegogo campaign. So with social media, social media is a big word. When I mention social media, a lot of my students, a lot of my clients are like, oh, Sal, I don't want to have to do that social media stuff. Like, I'm wasting my time looking at my phone. I'd rather work on my business and move my life forward. I'd rather go after my dreams and my goals. I'd rather hustle. I don't want to have to do social media. But I'll say one thing, like, I totally agree with you when it comes to your personal life, but when it comes to business, you cannot afford to ignore social media. Social media is everywhere. Everyone's consuming it. The average person loves to spend hours of their day on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and so many more. So when it comes to social media marketing, I'd first get started with thinking about which platforms you'd like to begin creating marketing messages for. So we'll just say, to get started, maybe Facebook and maybe one other, right? Could be Instagram. So if you're thinking about starting and putting out content on Facebook and Instagram, the next question is gonna be, what is the format of that content that I'm gonna need? Am I gonna need photos and videos? Am I gonna need to create some graphics? Am I gonna need to have some copies, some text? When are these gonna go out, right? You need to begin to put together just a little bit of a plan. I know planning is not the most fun thing, right? You wanna get this out there, you wanna change the world, but you gotta do just a tiny bit of planning to think about the content you're going to be producing. Because to be honest, I would say that social media is incredible for one thing, which is storytelling. Because when someone starts to see your social media posts, maybe that's, for example, an initial post or a video, and they then see a story update of yours or of your brand. Maybe they also see some short form content that you're putting out there. All of a sudden, they're gonna start to get a little bit of familiarity with who you are, what it is you're doing, your brand. This is called the mere exposure effect. I'm gonna throw out a big fancy word, right, in marketing, the mere exposure effect. And they're gonna start to feel more familiar with what you're doing. They're gonna start to actually pay attention to your campaign. So social media is great because it allows you to tell that story of the craftsmanship behind your project, around you, the inventor, about the actual idea, about how this is different from anything else out there, and leaps forward in terms of technology. And that then translates into an avalanche of funding coming to your campaign. More and more people checking this out, liking and commenting and starting to engage in your social media messages. So that would be tenet or tip number one. And kind of, I'd say attached to that is, if you want to think about this, you can try to start a roaring bonfire yourself, or you could go to someone else's campfire and just get a little bit more toasty, right? A little bit more warm. So by that, I mean, you can also engage in social media bookmarking websites and social media groups that already have the audience that you are going after. So for example, I have a great Facebook group out there that has more than 10,000 members, which I'll try to link up down below so you can check it out. But this has more than 10,000 members in terms of Kickstarter people, Indiegogo people, innovators, enthusiasts about crowdfunding. And that's not just mine. I also have another LinkedIn group as well with more than 10,000 people in it. We also have an online forum, right? There's so many resources at your disposal when it comes to reaching out to different communities online, not only that are related to crowdfunding, but also your specific niche or vertical, your specific category, what it is that you've created a product under. So that would be my next advice, or a bit of tidbit. If you want to get more funding on Indiegogo, then go out there and go to those communities. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillment is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillment today. Link in the description. So this is kind of like the low-hanging fruit, right? Two major points that we just went after. And also so many lists as well that if you want to, you can promote your project on. But what I would say is that this is kind of like the low-hanging fruit that anyone out there, you have no excuse to not go out there and to begin to get active on social media. And if this is something that you, first of all, are beginning to now think about and start to really take more seriously, give me a thumbs up on this video so that other people know this is worth their time. And this is sort of starting that fire, which is going to turn into a roaring bonfire. So the next thing I want to say is a tiny bit more advanced, right? So we're talking with students who are just a tiny bit more advanced, or you're willing to open up the floodgates when it comes to traffic. So I'm going to throw out another term when it comes to this video, which is pay-per-click marketing. So pay-per-click marketing is this really big umbrella term, right? That there's a lot of different types of pay-per-click marketing. We're going to focus on, let's just say, meta advertising campaigns. So if you wanted to really get guaranteed traffic, one of the things that you could do is you could set up a meta advertising campaign. Now, sometimes I'll have students that get started and they're just kind of like boosting a post here and there, which is an easy way to maybe get some more attention on that specific post. If you did an announcement, or you want someone to see a new video, or everyone who liked your Facebook page, you want them all to see a bit of new content. And that's a great way to get started, right? On Instagram or Facebook. But if you really want to go more sophisticated, you could set up a full-blown meta advertising campaign and get very specific about the audiences which you're going after, the type of campaign, whether you're going for purchases or traffic. You can get even more specific with running multiple different ad creatives and testing them out and seeing how Facebook actually allocates your budget to these ad creatives, depending on the type of campaign you're doing. And in a very short span of time, you can see the audiences, the copy, the creative that's doing well and that's getting purchases or getting people to back your Indiegogo campaign. So this is so powerful because if you weren't online, you couldn't gather all of this data and be able to analyze that and then hone your marketing strategies to get even more backers, even more funding in the door. So running a meta advertising campaign is definitely not for the faint of heart, but it doesn't mean you have to be throwing in thousands of dollars per day in a meta advertising campaign. You could start small. You could even start with just $10 or $15, right? When it comes to doing that. And if you're feeling still a little bit hesitant, you could also look at, okay, if I'm gonna be doing a campaign, I gotta maybe have some great creative, some interesting copy. I gotta make sure that I've structured this correctly. So if you need to, you can also get a little bit of help, right? When it comes to doing that. I have a great book out there that I mentioned, the Kickstarter Launch Formula, which talks about meta advertising and also talks about some of these other ways in which you can market and promote your campaign. which you can check out at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter formula. And you can grab a paperback version of my book or at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. I'll include that link down below. You can also grab an Audible version of my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. This is also a great option if you want to learn more from more of a bite-sized manner. I have a free course out there on Kickstarter that also covers Indiegogo, right? So Indiegogo and Kickstarter are kind of synonymous, and you want to understand how to get backers quickly when it comes to your Indiegogo campaign, go to this link at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter and you can enroll in my free course, which also covers Indiegogo. So meta and paid advertising is again one way to get instant traffic going in the door to your campaign to very quickly then scale up that meta advertising campaign, because chances are you're going after a big audience and it's very easy to scale up a meta advertising campaign if it's going well. We're moving right along, and I think the next territory that we really have to cover is influencers and PR. And I think that PR and influencers are kind of like two really incredible ways that recently has just blown up to be able to actually get credibility and traffic to your Indiegogo campaign. Influencers, whether that's more of like a traditional influencer as a blogger or a podcaster or an Instagrammer or a YouTuber, you can actually engage these influencers in marketing and promoting your Indiegogo campaign and run an affiliate program and maybe give them a percentage kickback if you decide to run an affiliate program. Another way in which you can utilize PR would not only be writing and directly outreaching to journalists, I have a great video out there on YouTube as to how to do that, but you can also use it to publish a press release to very quickly get your news disseminated and seen with major news wires, and to have that kind of press release distribution that's required to get more attention going when it comes to your news story. There are also media databases as well that you can comb through when it comes to vetted reporters, journalists. I'm working with one as well called Crowdfunding PR. You can go there, you can get access to their database, and you can learn more about some of those other journalists and reporters that you can reach out to on a category by category basis. In order to do a press release, in order to write a story, in order to get something going, you gotta have an angle, right, to your actual news story. So what is newsworthy? What's new about it? Is it the founders? Is it the technology? Is it the benefits that you're talking about? Is it a new invention of some kind? Think about the angle for your story. Make sure you've written a press release. Have a high resolution photo or attachments as well when it comes to being able to send that out to journalists, and be willing to be persistent. I've had countless students get on major media publications. I've also got on publications myself like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Forbes, CNN, the Washingtonian, Engadget, Indiegogo's blog itself, GoFundMe's blog. I've got on so many different media publications over the years using the same approaches that I'm talking about in this video. In addition to influencers and PR, you can also make use of Indiegogo's secret perk functionality. So secret perk is actually, to me, something that really distinguishes Indiegogo from its rival Kickstarter, which is the fact that when someone goes through a unique link, they can unlock a secret perk that only they can see. So you could utilize this secret perk functionality to be able to share it with influencers, and influencers can then share it with their following to give them like a special deal. It could also be if you've done a proper pre-launch going into your Indiegogo campaign, which I talk about in my free course at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, which also goes into the Indiegogo pre-launch process. You then can share that secret link with your following, with your tribe that you've built up ahead of time. So secret perks are a great way to further incentivize people that this is feeling like that FOMO or fear of missing out when they come to the page, and thus increase the conversion rate on your page. In that sort of same vein of thought of like Indiegogo functionality, another great one, and this could be whether you're doing like a flexible funding campaign or a fixed funding campaign, you could do and go into Indiegogo Indemand after your campaign has finished. And what this does is it allows you to raise and to earn more money on Indiegogo, because after you've gone through your Indiegogo campaign, and this is like a small text on their website, but you can actually extend your campaign as well if you want to actually earn more income that way. But you can go into Indiegogo Indemand after the 30 or the 60-day Indiegogo campaign, you could decide to go into Indiegogo Indemand. I've had clients and students that will stay in Indiegogo Indemand for months at a time and pick up an extra 50 to 100% extra when it comes to their funding meter. So you can use Indiegogo Indemand almost as like a mini shop if you want to think of it that way. And between you and me, I do actually think that Indiegogo is kind of trying to make that happen, because they now set up as well a new thing called an indie shop. And the indie shop is really for people that are like evangelists and enthusiastic and early adopters when it comes to cool technology and cool gadgets, right? And they can now shop in the indie shop and they can grab products that have been crowdfunded. So Indiegogo is also moving more and more creators through their in-demand program, through their trust-proven program, to then join the indie shop where you can sell your product on an ongoing basis and thus make more money while on Indiegogo. Now, there are still some people in the audience that are like, Sal, I have been doing that, my friend. I've been listening to you. I've been watching your videos on YouTube. I've been listening to your podcast on the way to work in my car. I've read your book. I've gone and checked out CrowdCrux, your blog, and I love it, but I'm still stalling with my Indiegogo campaign. So I have two things to say to that. The first one is that just because you're sending lots and lots of traffic, and I've made this mistake more than anyone else, so I'm not trying to say that I haven't. I've made this mistake more than anyone else. Just because you're getting a ton of traffic doesn't mean that you have an optimized Indiegogo campaign page. So by that, I mean you maybe have to think about the actual page, the actual video, which you have on that Indiegogo page. If you are getting tons of traffic to the sucker, but it's not converting, likely you have a problem, right? When it comes to the format or you need to upgrade that Indiegogo page, think about the rewards that you're offering, the price point. You need to be thinking as well about the actual video and multimedia on that page. Multimedia, that's like such an outdated word, right? But that's kind of the world that we live in. So when it comes to that, you gotta really be thinking about that Indiegogo page. There might be a conversion rate problem. And I can only really tell that if you end up booking an individual one-on-one coaching call, and I can kind of go through your page, your process, your strategy, the things you've been doing to get attention. I can really only do that through an individual one-on-one coaching call. The other thing I would say is that I have had people who come to me and they're like, you know what, Sal, this just really didn't go very well, but I'm gonna try it again. And they go and they launch again on Indiegogo and they're successful the second time around. So crowdfunding is kind of one of those cool things. I almost liken it to baseball. I love playing baseball when I was younger, and I did a shortstop, and I loved also playing second base. But baseball was so fun, and like I miss playing baseball for sure. One of the great things about baseball is that when you're practicing, you literally can have as many at-bats as you want to. When it's game time, like 3 strikes and you're out, right? But as long as you still have funding, as long as you still have time and wherewithal, and you're willing to really toot your own horn when it comes to this project, you can have as many at-bats as you want to when it comes to a crowdfunding campaign. So just because it's maybe not going your way this time, that's no reason you couldn't rework things, maybe do a one-on-one individual coaching call with me, and I'll talk about that link in just a second, and then relaunch your campaign shortly thereafter and blow past your funding goal with just a couple of minor tweaks, right, when it comes to that actual campaign. So if you want to learn more about that option, you can go at the link down below and book a intensive one-on-one coaching call with me, where we not only go through your entire strategy and I give you feedback every step of the way, but really what do you need to do in order to go big with this campaign. If that sounds like something interesting to you, go down to the link down below and book your one-on-one individual coaching call with me at crowdcrux.com/coaching. But regardless, I hope that this video has been useful and helpful to you. And if it has, come subscribe for more content just like this. I put out content every single week. Give me a thumbs up if you did like this video. Leave a positive comment in the links in the chat down below. It would mean so much. My name is Salvador Briggman. Hope that you take some action towards your goals this upcoming week, and I'll see you next time.